Hi, everybody. We're back here at the Coach's Corner, and as I promised, I'm having Amelia Henning here. She just participated in the Racing the Planet Namibia 2021, and I am so fortunate to be having her here with me today. She's in South Africa, and she told me today it's 44 degrees Celsius, and I'm in Canada and it's almost the opposite. It's like minus 15 today. So she's hot and I'm cold. And I am going to ask her a few questions because I'm really curious as to how Amelia did this race, because we actually went to university together, and I know that when we were studying together, she did not really like the physical part as much. She was more the brainiac and I was more the physical person. But, you know, we were so opposite that we connected after so many years. And I saw her do something that was absolutely extraordinary for somebody that is not active, is not part of their life. Also, I want to mention that Amelia is a director of photography. Did I get that right?
That's correct.
And she is the first woman in South Africa to pursue this profession, and she's made quite a few movies. And I mean, I would like her to mention a little bit about what her, what she does. So I'm gonna go ahead and I want Amelia to introduce herself, to tell us and everybody a little bit about herself.
Hi, Arnold. Thank you very much for that beautiful introduction. My name is Amelia Henning. I just turned 57, beginning of January. I'm a director of photography in the South African film industry and also international. And I was the first female in South Africa to be a director of photography of a full-length feature film for big screen. And ever since, it's almost a fashion that has hit South Africa, with females being directors of photography, directors of film. There's even a women in film movement now in South Africa. And just to move the power of women in film forward. So I wasn't a very sporty person. I still aren't. I was rather a spectator than an athlete, and always admiring people who can do these extraordinary tough things. In South Africa, we've got I think it's a 93-kilometer race called the Comrades. Is that correct, the distance on it?
I think it's like 89 kilometers. 89.
No.
Yeah, 89.
Yeah.
That's quite a prestigious race. I would love to run that race. My father actually ran that race when he was 53. He ran the Comrades.
Yeah, it is quite a notorious race and world-recognized race, road race. And I always admire not just the athletes for their tenacity, but also the sportsmanship and showing camaraderie and and just this out of the world strength. And I always wondered how does one run this? How do you start? Where is it? Where do you take yourself to be able to do that? But it never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would be running 250 kilometers through a desert. Ever. Never. And today I sat in my kitchen and it is 44 degrees outside and I'm like, how the hell did I get through that desert? It was even hotter than now. And put a backpack on and run 40 kilometers. And I just realized that at the moment, I'm so out of that mind space that I had to sit down and remind myself what it took to to actually get me there.
Well,
And it is
before we cross the finish line, and I'm really excited. I actually, the picture you sent me is a picture I'm going to use as well for, showing people what it is. Anyway, so before we've crossed the finish line, I would love to know that when we were talking earlier, you mentioned to me that your focus was just work. And I know that your push or your forward movement to become a runner or do something big came like just before COVID hit. Like I think it was August of 2019 or November 2019.
It was actually no. I was so all coveted up in terms of really being lame. We couldn't shoot film. We couldn't do anything in this country. I mean, like everywhere in the world. And it was actually October 2020. And I wrote in my journal.
Okay, yeah, 2020. Sorry.
That was the 5th of October 2020. I decided, listen, if I sit on this couch one more day, I am going to die of boredom, of frustration, of lethargy, of overweight, of unfitness. Just my whole world just crumbled so hard that for me, in order to feel alive again, I really had to dig deep and just say, Lester, get off the couch. Do something worthwhile. Do something that will make you feel alive. That's an adventure. That's a challenge, and that actually breaks your boundaries where you have it. And I just wanted to be different. I was in the middle of menopause, and I was so bothered with hot flushes and tiredness, and just not interested in much actually. And then there wasn't a job to go to, And what I have found in this, it is very personal, but I feel I have to share it, is that I got so intense and focused in my work that it became an escape for me, actually, to not face other things going on around me or within myself, maybe escape myself and some issues of myself. And what better way than on a film set where nothing is real there. It's a surreal world. And I'm behind a camera and I'm creating a world. Then you take that and you work for 12 hours a day, which actually in the end, by the time you get home again, it's more likely 14, 15, sometimes even 16 hours of your day is gone. You're so tired, you just fall down and sleep, because in 6 or so hours, you have to rush again and get there. And I actually got addicted to that lifestyle because it suited me. It suited me psychologically. It suited my personality. It suited my creativity. And obviously, the runaway was perfect.
So how did you're running away, which I think is a lot of what people do. Like people ask me, why do I run so much? And maybe I'm running away from the reality of all the noise out there and on a different level. But when you were so focused, you were in your work so much, what moved you to start moving? What was it? What was that first thought that came to your head that said, I need to do this? And you got up and you started.
I gained quite a bit of weight. So that the most obvious reason for me was my weight gain. I gained 18 kilograms in 8 months or something. It is horrendous. It is just horrendous. And I think it is not just from stuffing my face and being frustrated or being an emotional eater, which I looked it up and I'm not, by the way, but just the boredom and all the time that I have now and utilize it to cook or whatever the reason was, combined with going into menopause and the slowing down of metabolism and slowing down because you're quite busy on a film set. It's a very physical job that I'm doing, all 12 hours on your feet and thinking and doing and carrying things and climbing. So it's not that I was completely, not physical, but not an athlete per se. So that was the major change. So there wasn't all this activity happening. And I had to look inside and I had to face myself and say, okay, what is this? Who am I? What is going on here? How am I going to go forward in this new order of the world as we know it? I mean, I doubt whether things will be as it was ever again. There will always be precautions. There will always be something happening with some new rules and some new precaution and measures and new ways of working. I mean, how many people around the globe are now working from their homes? Just to mention like the obvious. So all these things really, really, really played a role. And I'm like, I have to find a way to feel alive again. And for me, it started with, I have to do something to lose this weight. I just have to. There is no other way. So the gyms are closed. There's no gatherings. It's not that you can join a running club or you can join somewhere that's an activity and that is social. I mean, in South Africa, our beaches were closed for so long. I mean, you try and catch a surf and that's it. You get arrested, like seriously arrested. So how would we go about this? And then I saw this neuro-linguistic program called Mentally Tough. And I'm like, oh, do you want to lose weight? Yes. Let's start with your head. Let me show you. Dr. Kobus Oosthuizen. Let me show you how. And I'm like, well, I've got nothing to lose. This might be a start. I don't have to be so physical. It's in the head. I'm gonna be in my head and I'm gonna lose this weight. And I actually got very, very excited about this. It's almost a mental challenge. I'm gonna learn a lot of new things about the way I'm thinking, the way that people think, the way the brain works is 100%. If you understand that and you know a little bit of self-talk, what you tell yourself, that is what neuro-linguistic is. Reprogram, rewire, set a new brain path. And what started off as forming a new brain path to lose weight, I started walking, and then the next thing, we had to set 3 goals for ourselves. So the one was a short-term, a mid-term, and a long-term goal. So short-term was easy, mid-term was easy, 3 months, and then the 12-month goal, I was like, geez, a year. How does one plan for a year ahead? It's quite strange times to try and plan for just a week or a month ahead. I mean, till today, you can't book an aeroplane ticket 3 months in advance. There isn't bookings like that. You can't do that. Still. But anyway, Kobus phoned me and on a Sunday, and I thought, I did something wrong. What's going on? I was like a school child. I did something wrong. And how are you doing with your goals? And I said, no, short term is a month sorted. 3 months out. But the year, Kobus, I don't know what he says. Listen, I ran up Signal Hill this morning, which is a section of Table Mountain in Cape Town where I live, which is very popular for trail runners and climbers alike. And he said, and I stopped, and something, it's as if there's something, a voice that spoke to him that said, listen, ask Amelia if she wants to do the Kalahari or Grabis Extreme Marathon with you. So that is a marathon in South Africa. through the Kalahari Desert. It's also 250 kilometers unassisted, very similar to Racing the Planet's module, but it's just in the Kalahari Desert. And he found me straight away, and I started laughing. I said, Kobus, is this a joke? Surely you're joking. He's like, no, I'm telling you now. If I can do it, you can do it. And Kobus did his first unassisted 250 kilometer race on a challenge. He was lecturing neuro-linguistic programming, and he does crazy things on him. You cannot believe how you can alter your mind if you apply principles and if your self-talk is ready. So in one of his lectures, he asked the students, okay, give me something, give me a challenge to do. And the one guy's like, okay, so you want a challenge? Go and run that. Go and run that race. And that was, I think, 90 days that Kobus had to prepare for the Kalahari or Grabis race. And it was tough, but he mentally prepared. And yeah, he's not a runner. He does his like 3 or 4 kilometers in the morning with the dogs and, very social. So his fitness level was definitely not that of an ultra runner. And he did it. And he told the story and he said to me, listen, if I can do it, you can do it. You have a year. 1 year. This is only a year from now. If you start now doing something, what do you call it? Marginal. What do you call it, Anna?
Marginal gains theory.
There we go. If you start doing something about it every single day, you will surprise yourself. And I said, okay, well, let me think about this. I'm not going to say yes or no straight away. Let me think about it. And the Tuesday, I phoned him. I said, Kobus, I'll do it. And that is me. That is the one thing. If I say I'm going to do something, whether it's the biggest mistake, whatever it takes, it doesn't matter. I stick to it and I do it. And you know why, Anna? Because that is how you start believing in yourself. You say you're going to do something, you do it.
I believe you. And
yeah.
I think that, but okay, so I really, this is incredible because you took this, you decided, you made a commitment, you need to lose the weight, and this took you to another place. So he got you involved into this training and changing your neural pathways by doing some kind of activity. What I find interesting is that a stage race is just like so incredible. It's not like, because you've never run a marathon. You've never done, I know when we had gymnastics, you always made me do everything. And you were just standing there giving directions while I had to go do a somersault on a beam. And in dancing, I remember you were like I had to do all the tasks. I went to the library and get everything. Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember. Don't think I forgot that. So, put the cloth of shame on your face. That's it. So here you go. At 57, and you are going to do a freaking stage race, and I have been training all my life, and I've been doing races and shit all over the world, and here you go, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to change my neural pathways, and I'm going to do a stage race of 250 kilometers in the Kalahari, which is like one of the worst deserts in the world. It's the driest, most unforgiving, dangerous, actually, desert in the world, So there you go. You decide to do this. You have to carry a backpack. You have to eat freeze-dried food. You have to be able to have certain amount of nutrition per day. And how did you get to all of this? How did you decide that this is what I'm going to eat and, this is what I'm going to do? Did you have coaching? Did you have a nutritionist? And how did you get all this information?
Arnhem, it was the greatest year of research in my life. I have spent hours and hours and hours, but let's just start with the basics. Running shoes. Okay, so I'm walking 2.5 kilometers a day. I've got this lovely green belt that I do. Now after 2 or 3 weeks, I do 2 rounds, and then I'm like, okay, I guess I better get some shoes now. My heat, it's not feeling too good in my flip flops. To really that much of disrespect, like, or not even knowing. So I went to the nearest shop. I think it's called Kloppers Sport down the road, and there's this Portuguese guy. I'm like, dude, do you run? And he's like, no, but I've been selling running shoes for 21 years. I'm like, but you're not a runner. And he's like, no. I'm like, but then how can you know what you're doing? And that hit me so hard. That was my first encounter. Like, okay, hang on a second. I would like somebody that knows something of what I'm about to do to give me some advice just on shoes, to tell me, listen, it's a trail run, so, and you're not young, you don't have young bones anymore, so you need some support on the inside. The sole needs to be a bit soft, but you're going to go through sand, so this and that, just something. And he knew it all without ever running anything. I'm like, okay, so let's see. So I started looking, I said, okay, it's trail running. Right, here's the section. And I'm like, almost like the way I choose my crystals. Which shoe is calling me? So I won't be naming any other shoes until I got to Hawker one once. But just that was quite a challenge for me, because unfortunately you have to run in them to see if they work for you. If they really work for you. So I thought. Then later I said, no, hang on a second. You can go and run on this infrared belt, and I see the way that you step this way and that way. But that was 4 pairs of running shoes down the line when I only got to, okay, this is the pair, and blisters and, and aching knees and hips and a lot of discomfort. So I never had a coach. My dog was my coach. He would run with me, and he would pace me really, really. Like some days he's ahead of me, and it's almost as if he breaks me, and sometimes he's behind me as if he pushes me, and then really on in my sweet spot where I'm like, oh, this is nice and rhythmic, and I am actually enjoying myself. This is not uncomfortable. I can keep going. He's right next to me, and he'll look up with a huge smile. So that was my coach.
So I'm gonna, what I realized while you were talking about your dog, and I know that there's a story that is pretty sad about it, and I do want to hear about it. And
Yeah.
I think that what we should do is, I think we should do another episode, because I don't think we're going to be able to give value if we do everything in one episode. So I'm really excited to hear your journey, because I love the fact that after 3 pairs of running shoes, you found what you needed to do. And that is exactly what I'm looking for, is that not to give up if the first pair don't fit. You always got to take another step to find the pair that works for you. And I love the fact that you touched on the neural pathways today, because I feel like the self-talk that you mentioned is such a key element in these types of races, or in life, like anything. So I think that we're going to stop here today, but I would love it if we can would you be okay if we do another episode and continue from where. And what was your dog's name again?
Turquoise.
Turquoise. And I would love to hear more about Turquoise in the way that he paced you and pulled you through this whole thing as your running mate and your best buddy. So you have to agree to this. You got to do another episode.
Oh yeah, I'd love to share it. There's so many things to mention, and it was a big journey of discovery throughout the year. Like, I had to go and discover things, and I get up in the morning, I put my shoes on, and I go and I run. I mean, that's how I started. And in that, I started discovering that, listen, hang on, when I run far, it hurts the next day, and how will I prepare to run further and get up the next day and do it again? All sorts of things, and discover. Nobody told me, listen, sit down, this is what it's going to be. And you need this, that, and that. And it was discovery. I'd love to tell you about what I discovered.
Well, I want to hear about it. It's like childbirth. Nobody gives you a handbook, and all you have to do is push. But I'm going to wrap it up right now. And I want to thank you for your time. I know it's getting late there by you. So until next week, I'm going to post this on YouTube and also on my social media, and I'll tag you on it. And thanks for your time, and we will talk next week.
Thank you, Anna.
Ciao.